Today we are at the Commissioner of Education's office here on Capitol Hill. Dr. Lawrence Camacho, thanks for your time. We're just days away from the start of the next school year, and a recent memo you wrote to the PSS community got a lot of attention and understandably is causing a little bit of anxiety about what the next school year looks like. Correct me if I'm wrong, but PSS is asking for at least 48.2 million.
49, yeah. 49
million, and there's a chance you might get 40, which is what the late governor proposed in his plan. But you're also preparing for a $30 million scenario. What does it mean? What will it mean for students, teachers, and parents if you don't get the 49 million?
Yeah, first of all, thank you for the opportunity to explain further this situation that we're in when it comes to the budget and this coming school year, in which, by the way, we've received our teachers here Tuesday of this week to prepare for the coming school year that is going to start when we receive our students next Tuesday on the 19th of August. And so what we, just as a background, we presented to the board a calendar for this school year, and it's a calendar with 180 days of 180 instructional days. What that means is, by law, we are supposed to operate and provide education, public education for up to 180 days. And that is by law. We presented that because when we were going back and forth with the late Governor Palacios' administration, himself committing to what it's going to look like for this upcoming school year, fiscal year, which really is tied to our school year calendar. I presented that the need of 49. We went back and forth, and he said, how can we continue to operate and still have 180 days? And I gave him the scenarios and what that's going to look like. But then we ended up with a $40 million proposal from him and his team, and I thought that was a very good starting point. But if you look at what he projected, what they project for the next fiscal year, 25% of that by law, too, constitutionally were mandated to have and receive the 25% of the general revenue. 44, it equates to 44 million. So 40 is a good start. They were committing to bring us up to 44, as I mentioned in some of the letters that I've been communicating. Presented the budget for 49 to the legislature a few weeks ago. We've had a meeting. The board, thankfully, State Board of Education formed a ad hoc committee to look into 25% in the meeting of that, and then how do we work with central government, the legislature, the legislative branch, and really kind of coming up and making sure that we're good when it comes to the 25% mandate. But at the same time, it also provided us the opportunity to look into this immediate situation that we're in when it comes to the budget, and ensures that, provided enough opportunities for us to work together, collaborate with central government and the legislative branch on how then do we secure the proper funding for the upcoming school year or this next fiscal year. And with that, we met last Friday with some folks from the legislature, some folks from central government's budget and finance department, and sat down and really kind of had a cordial conversation about all this. It was more informational on us presenting our case, but at the same time us presenting also what, if not 40, which is what the late governor proposed for us, is going to look like. And the indication of going even as far down as 30 million, came on the table, came up as a part of the discussion, and I thought, there is no way we're not going to do our best to communicate to the community, to at least our PSS, our education community, right? So I proposed to the board that we're going to have to to start communicating this, because this is not something that we're going to need to hold back. We need to be transparent. That's the reason why that letter came out, informing the community that here's what we asked for, here's what we hope for, and then build up to that. But at the same time, we need to brace ourselves for the worst. And if it goes all the way down to 30, what really, to your question, and I know I went around about it in a very long fashion, but I wanted to kind of share some of the context
the background, yeah.
to where we are when it comes to that. But what 30 means, really, the bottom line is we're going to have to go all the way down to even our hours being cut to 64 hours in a pay period, right? What it also means for even further than that is, because if you give us a budget of 30, we still have to operate, obviously. So what that means is 28 million of that 30 is going to be dedicated to personnel. If you look at the budget that we proposed, that we asked for, the personnel cost in that budget is 42 million. 28 is way less than 42 million. So what does that mean? That means that a lot of hours are going to be cut. What that means too, when we cut hours, is it's going to equate to cutting down the instructional days that we have to, where we have to operate, right? So from 180, it's going to go down to, if we go down to 64 hours for the employees per pay period, it's going to go down to 147 instructional days instead of 180.
And so does that mean students won't graduate, or?
No, it still means the students will graduate. What that means is that we're going to have the government declare a state of emergency.
So that you're still in compliance with?
So that we are still in compliance and the law has to change, right? Or, I'm sorry, state of emergency to say that we cannot meet the 180-day law that is required by law. And at $28 million for personnel, that means we're going to have to let some folks go, which is unfortunate, right? We're going to have to furlough folks. We're going to have to cut down our hours. I'm looking at even cutting down the salaries of our folks at the top.
Yeah, that's one thing you emphasized that was in bold, that the cuts are going to start from the top, but that can only...
But that's not a lot, right? Because there's not a lot of people at the top, right? There's not a lot of people at the top, but it'll demonstrate the priority, and the priority really is the instructional essence of what we do and our mission, our core, we call it the academic enterprise is our core mission.
So what's the timeline? Because, first day of school next Tuesday, we're filming this on a Thursday, just full disclosure. What's your message? When will we know what the final verdict is, I guess?
When the legislature passes the budget.
Did they tell you when they're going to make a decision on PSS?
I think within, the PSS budget is going to be reflected in the actual CNMI budget.
Okay.
So when they pass the budget, when they debate, I think it's going to Senate this week, and then into next week.
Right.
They're trying to strike a deal of some sort to really kind of understand how to fund the next fiscal year. And when that is voted on and is passed is what we're going to be able to see, right? Really the reality of what the budget is going to look like, and we're going to have to plan, we're going to have to operate according to that, right? Because as soon as the governor signs it, it becomes into law, and that's all we're going to get. So we're bracing ourselves for the worst. We have a 180-day calendar that the board has approved. We can't change that until the board goes back and changes it, and the board's waiting for me to propose a new calendar if we need to. And I can't propose a new calendar until we know what the budget is going to look, is going to be. But so at the same time, though, we are planning, and we're developing a planning thing. By tomorrow, I should be able to see a draft on what that what $30 million really mean in terms of how many people, who, what positions, the amount. We're going to have to go back and scrape the funding to our schools as well. We're going to have to go back. We're doing right now an analysis on the expenditure habits, if you will, of the, for lack of a better word, of the schools. And so we know how much to fund the schools. Right now, we have two ways or strategies on how to fund the schools is really by enrollment or by the expenditures that they've been habitually putting in their spending plan.
So potentially in the middle of the semester,
Yeah, so
you might have to cut things down.
What I was about to say is that we're going to operate with 180 because that's what's approved calendar, and then when we hear, we're going to have to go back and rewrite that calendar.
Yeah.
In that calendar, just to be clear, we have 180 days of instructional days. There are 4 days in the entire year for intercession, for example. When we start reducing the instructional days, I'm going to put back those 4 days as instructional days and not, let people take off, right, from work and not close down schools on those days, because those intercession days were designed to kind of give a break to both the students and the PSS employees. But we're going to have to use those 4 days and save some of those 4 days for instructional days and not for. If that makes sense.
I just can't help but think, right, we all say students first, you've added educators always. Would you hope that this is a priority of the legislature, or how are you looking at it? Are you understanding of the times that we're in? Or should they really fight for this 49,
Yeah, well, that I can't answer for them other than to hope for them. But in any society, we all hope that education is a priority, because when education is evident in any society and it's really high quality education that's provided to the to the citizens of that society, the society tends to thrive, right? It's through research, it's through history and all that type of stuff. But here in the CNMI, we know for a fact that it's been a priority since the day the framers of our Constitution, drafted that Constitution, because they put on Article 15 that there shall be this public good, and it's this public education, right? Is this good for all? And in Article 15, we take that seriously as our mission to make sure we fulfill that part of the Constitution.
And of course, this is happening on the backdrop of threats of federal cuts. Are you able to provide an update if any federal funding is going to be cut, or I know the word is withheld, or are there any major sources that you're looking at?
And I always say that my response to that is so far we're good. Okay. Right. There were some scary tactics, if you will, in the beginning of this year, right, with the new administration coming on board, and they were right-sizing, if you will, scaling the department. Yeah, the Department of Education. Right, there was even a proposal to abolish the department, which I always thought that I don't think it'll ever be abolished at this point. It'll take an act of Congress, number one, right, before that could happen. But thankfully, what they ended up doing was they actually trimmed down the department, right-sized it to the point where they thought they could be more efficient and effective, and hopefully we get the residuals of that right-sizing to, as they wanted to, or they intended to the states, which means we should be receiving more of that. But we haven't yet seen any of that yet, right? But in the midst of all the hype about right-sizing and downsizing the Department of Education, which they did. So they really cut, I think, their staff in half, if I'm not mistaken. So we felt a little bit of that in terms of our communication with those folks that were administering the various grants that we were receiving, right? It was kind of harder to communicate in the beginning because they were gone. Sometimes they were just like not there anymore. We didn't get the word until later on that they were replaced by other people or had that mission go to another office for us to communicate with. And so they were doing that, and we felt some of that. But when it comes to the real dollars of what that means to us, when we compare it to what grants we've been receiving or we've requested, I think there was that up to almost $5 million of withheld on the consolidated grant, the CG grant we call it. All the other ones too, by the way, were okay, right? Like special education, Head Start. the food nutrition program, where we were getting the same amount that we had asked for. But the consolidated grant had 4 lines, if I'm not mistaken, out of it that was withheld, And when they held the 4 lines, we thought, oh, so that equated to almost $5 million, right? So for about 2 weeks, I think, is when they told us that it's going to be withheld. It was under review. So it was never cut. It was just held back, right? And after the review, they actually released all of it back to us in a couple weeks. So that was good.
All right. I know we're going to be reporting on the first day of school next week, so and this budget situation can change at any moment. But just want to open the floor. Any message to the school community as they're packing their bags, getting ready to go to school on Tuesday?
The message to us is to them, just trust that we are doing everything we can. And as I mentioned, it's already been reported earlier too, is that we are, I work on it every day, right? We just had a meeting today about what it's going to look like and how much more where can we also, find those cost-cutting measures. But to the community, just trust that we're doing everything we can, right? And we're hoping for the best, but we also have to be prepared for the worst. And the worst really is $30 million, not the 40 that we thought we could get that has been proposed for us. So. But as I mentioned, I'm always looking at making sure that we demonstrate that it's going to start from the top, no matter what. But essentially, 30 is going to really reach down even to the school level, right? If we end up with 35 or 38, it's still going to affect all of us, but at the same time, it's going to mostly affect the top, and we're trying to avoid touching the instructional staff, right, down at the schools. And that's just so that the quality of education that we've worked so hard and we've invested so much into, I am very protective of. I want to make sure that we secure and protect that to the point where we're just not going to negligently say we don't have the money, so therefore that's going to be, the case, and we're just going to live with that. No, we're doing everything we can to protect that. So whatever we could do to do that. Now there's a lot of other strategies and a lot of ways to do that, but it's gonna, it takes me to really look into where is the least painful way, right? To make sure that while those cuts are evident and are realities to us, the quality of the education that we provide in those classroom space and learning spaces are not as diminished. Thankfully, we have some federal funding that would enhance some of that. The problem with a lot of what the community probably doesn't know is that you can't take the federal money and supplant what should be, provided on the local side. It's supposed to enhance and supplement a lot of what we provide here locally. So we've been creatively coming up with programs to make sure that that is the case, right? Where we're supplementing and we're enhancing the ongoing education that we're already providing through the local funds. Unfortunately, the bulk of the local funding that comes from our government is, geared or focused more towards the personnel side, right? The hours and people, the salaries. And there's a reason why it's fortunate that we have the federal side to come in and actually provide those programs, because we cannot afford locally to pay for programs that we've been really benefiting from. At the end of the day, I really commend the teachers out there for sticking it out, for all the instructional, the schools for really kind of just bracing as well themselves on making sure, right, and staying focused on learning. I always tell our guys that where we make cuts, it's not to the detriment of our learning. We're going to make cuts and we're going to make sacrifices, but we're going to always do our best to protect the quality of that education that we provide, because we've worked so hard, we've invested so much in it. So Thank you to the community out there our education community who have worked so hard, our families who have been very cooperative in all of this. But, it's great to know that through that work, we've increased. I don't know if it's been reported, but our proficiency rating, if you did not know, in reading, for instance, our students performed really well this year, this past school year, compared to 24, the previous school year. If you compare the two, we've actually gone up by 17% on the reading proficiency. On the math, we went up by 7%. And yesterday I reported to our early Head Start staff that something good is happening in the Head Start, because if you look at the proficiency rating of our kindergarten through first grade, we call it early literacy, they're performing at 71%, which is like, never seen that before, right? So the performance is there, which means the teachers are focused. And I want to keep them focused and not be distracted with all the buzz around budget, because that is for us to work on. But obviously they're going to be affected by it, right? And so they're concerned, and I understand that. So I'm very sensitive to that and very considerate of that, to make sure that, as we mentioned, education, what is that? Students first and educators always. But that's just the work that we do here. Our core mission and our real hardcore mission in PSS is really the academic enterprise. If people are not focused on that, then they're wrong, right, for not thinking that way, at least in our community. So I should be the one to always consider that is the number one mission that we have, and that's what our focus should be. Nothing more than that. But of course, there's a lot of elements around that causes the education mission to either go forward or move backwards. And so we're doing everything we can to advance it, not move it backwards.
All right, Commissioner Dr. Camacho, thanks for your time. I'm sure we'll be in touch as things change and new information becomes available. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.